Hello and welcome to the Daily Atheist Morning Show. It is Sunday, May 10th. Happy Mother's Day to all you mothers out there. Today's also my dad's birthday. Happy birthday, Dad. And I have got Miss Scientist Mel is joining me this morning for Sci-Fi Sunday. It's actually Sci-Fi Sunday. So,
Yeah, we're on Sunday instead of Saturday.
I know it's weird. It's creepy. I feel all dirty. There was a little bit of a confusion, but it's fine. It works.
Yeah.
Scientist Mel couldn't make it, so we got her on Sunday. That's wonderful. Thank you again for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you've been on the show before. Yeah, we had you. Let me get you up here and say some high stuff here. Yes, you've been on the show before. I don't suppose a lot has changed. You're still a sci-fi nerd, yeah?
I am. I do have lots of stuff in my background too.
Yes. Let me eyeball your background there. Yes, the last time did you turn on the Pac-Man this morning? I was just curious.
I did.
It is.
I have Galaxian in the background this time instead of Pac-Man.
See, yeah, I think last time you'd forgotten to turn it on. So thank you for remembering this time.
Yeah,
That's wonderful. So if you don't mind, if you would give yourself a quick introduction for our people. I'm actually learning to give introductions myself, but I've been so wrapped up in the nerding today that I didn't do it proper.
That's
so if you would tell the folks who you are and what you do.
Well, I'm known as Scientist Mel on the internets or the interwebs. I don't, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
I have a YouTube channel. I also stream on Twitch, Facebook, Periscope, DLive. I'm a science communicator. I've got a background in science education, as well as science research. So my current job, I work in STEM academia, to where I help people who are borderline or pretty much in poverty be successful in their STEM courses. So it's a really rewarding job. But primarily what I do here is boost science literacy, because, to be quite honest, it's quite frustrating that the fact that the US is so behind on science literacy. And if you are ever interested, check out the National Science Foundation. They do a test like every couple of years. They run a survey of usually about 1,000 people, and they do go nation by nation and ask the same science-based questions to see if we're getting better. We're actually getting worse. So,
Really?
but do check out the science indicators with the NSF study that they've done if you want to kind of see where the US stands on literacy. It's pretty good.
I'm sad to say I'm not surprised that, you know what I mean? It's a shame.
Yeah.
I am not surprised considering X, Y, and Z and my feelings on this and that and this and that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Try not to go there. But you left off one hat that you wear. If you still wear that hat, I don't know. I used it on your logo. Are you still the cam girl for science?
That's a joke, but yes, I still call myself that as a means to perpetuate a terrible rumor about me, by a not nice person who was trying to discredit me. Nothing against individuals for if that is their trade. I support women who do that. It's meant to just kind of take the stigma associated with that and turn it on its ear. No, I'm not a technical cam girl, as far as in the sex worker trade. I
Right.
have known those. They're very nice people. And,
Yeah.
I've spent some time talking with, but that was said as a means to try to discredit me when I was asking somebody for legitimate sources on mental illness, and they decided to perpetuate that rumor. And so I'm like, you know what? Fine. I'm a cam girl for science. Sure. I get paid to talk about science on the internet. Let's call it that.
There
Who
you go.
cares?
Well, I think I'd met you just after that. Well, if I'm not mistaken, it was just after that. So you'd made the logo "Cam Girl for Science" or something like that. Because
Something.
apparently, yeah, somebody vilified you, trying to vilify you, claiming you were.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
And that's just one of the things that, being a woman on the internet, I'm not the only person that happens to. Being a
Right.
woman on the internet, people try to vilify you through different things that are seen as not ladylike, or
Yeah.
women can't do this thing here. Women can't do that's not what a
Or
proper
shouldn't.
woman does.
Yeah.
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 Shame on you. And I was like, okay. I don't. So, you just own it and they can never hurt you with it.
Yeah, that's right. When we met and you first told me the story about it, I thought, man, that's awesome. Atheist pastor did something similar. Someone leveled something against him, and he's like, you know what? I am now atheist pastor to this. I don't remember what it was. He changed his name and everything. He just owned it. I guess it worked for him. So
It's I developed a whole line of different merchandise off of that and sold some stuff. I'm like, okay, got bags and mugs and t-shirts, and that's part of my
yeah,
logo on the back of this is one of my t-shirts. Science is my jam. But
there you go. That's right, huh? Gonna go for it is helps you do some of your stuff.
yes, he does. He's really
Yes,
nice.
he's
He
wonderful.
does all of my intros and things like that. He's been a long time supporter and has helped me try to, up my production value
That's right. I've
through
had
it.
Peter on the show. I need to get him on again. Good morning, Peter. I think he's out in the chat, or he was.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we've got
He
quite a few
was.
people here this morning. I just want to say hi to some more folk. The atheist Christian is here. That's interesting story there. KCA Randy is here. Gonna go. Yeah, English is my first language. Peter, gonna go for it is here too. So thank you everybody for joining us this morning for the show as I learn to speak.
It's okay. Words are hard. Just
Words are
try
hard.
having a whole bunch of science words together, you
Yes.
know.
Yes.
You know.
Normally I try to use the best words. All the best words.
All the
Goodest
best
words.
words. You're
The most
bigly
goodest
smart.
words. The most goodest
Bigly
best words. So science fiction. You enjoy some science fiction. So oftentimes we go somewhere on I'm a big Star Trek person. But I am dynamic and flexible. I am malleable. So yes, I'm gonna cry. I just see that one. I'm gonna cry. Is that the A?
I think this is from the J.J. Abrams one, but yeah.
Oh, the new movie. Got you.
Yeah, the new movie. It actually holds a CD, like a DVD
Oh,
in here,
does it?
which is kind of cool. And then we all went to streaming and we lose really fun things like this now that we do streaming instead of buying the actual DVDs, because then you don't get cool stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess so, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
You just have to buy the stuff without the DVD in it. I remember seeing some of your Doctor Who stuff. I haven't watched Doctor Who in many, many moons. I have a twin brother.
Oh,
We talked about that, I think, vaguely before the show, briefly.
Mm-mm.
When we were like 11 or 12 living in Oklahoma, every now and then on this little black and white TV, we could get the PBS channel or whatever, and they would play occasionally. I don't remember. It's been a long time, but you would hear that the TARDIS sound. Tom Baker was the doctor at the time.
Yeah. It's great. I didn't even know about Doctor Who until the 2005 revamp of the show, where they brought in Christopher Eccleston. And when I first started watching it, I was like, my God, the Daleks are annoying. This is how can anybody listen to them talk? I want to like jab Q-tips in my ears. So at first I was like, I don't get this show. So after watching, and Christopher Eccleston was only on one season. After watching that season, I didn't know that the doctors can regenerate. Nobody told me about that. So I had completely fallen head over heels in love with this show. And then Christopher Eccleston goes to regen. And I'm like, what is this? Oh my God. I'm like sobbing in my living room going, what is this? This is cruel and horrible. And I'm just like, I don't understand. Are they never doing this again? And then he's like dying. I'm like, I don't get this. And then David Tennant shows up. I'm like, I'm not okay with what just happened. Not okay at all.
Your psyche had been violated.
I'm like, how can anybody deal with the emotional trauma associated with losing a doctor like this? And then I go through and I wasn't certain that I would like David Tennant as the doctor, but by the second episode, I was all in. He's an amazing doctor, and he's been my favorite, and I've watched all of them since then. I need to catch up on the current season with the new doctor. I've bought it. I need to sit through and just watch it. But it's like when David Tennant left, I wasn't okay, and I'm still not. I don't know if I can talk about it.
Touching on the issues that matter to you. That's hilarious. Okay, so Miss Leanne Lord does our Sci-Fi Saturday. Generally, she's a co-host with me for Sci-Fi Saturday. She's wonderful. She's a comedian. She's an actress. She also is a sci-fi nerd, and her view, if I remember correctly, on Doctor Who is that Doctor Who is, for her, it's more about who's your doctor. And now I guess you found out who your doctor. You're not really a Doctor Who fan so much as you are a Eccleston fan or a this Doctor fan. I'm a Baker fan because Baker was my doc, right? And then I was like, I don't know, 12 or 13 or however old I was whenever I was seeing these. I was a little blonde kid, hold my hair over kind of like just like I do now. Well, the very next doctor after Baker was a blonde dude who combed his hair like I did, and he had an English accent. And you know what? I related to him, so I liked him too. But other doctors, I never really kind of got onto. And then when they came out with Eccleston in 2005, I too watched that show, and I actually enjoyed Eccleston. But my doctors from my time, they lived like several years. They had like 5 to 10 years worth of lifespan before they did this regeneration thing. And then to have him go one season and go, oh, this is too hard, and just give up on the whole, I thought, man, that was just a flash note. I didn't get into the next doctor.
Yeah, I thought Tennant was amazing. Eccleston, the reason why he left the show is that they wanted him to become more of a sex symbol. A bit more of that. And that was something he wasn't interested in doing. He didn't want to have like a romantic type of relationship or any kind of thing like that. And that comes out when Tennant kind of shows up. He and Rose end up developing a type of, it's understood, but it's not outright. And so they start developing this rapport and this romantic back and forth that they don't really fully get to express so much. So it's like it's understood, but it's like this love can never be kind of thing. And Eccleston was like, yeah, I don't want to do that.
I really enjoyed her, Rose. I enjoyed her.
Yeah, I thought she's great. My favorite character is River Song, though. You haven't got to her yet.
No,
you would love River Song. Her name is pretty much the same as mine. So I loved her. She's amazing. She shows up around with David Tennant's doctor, but she's more prevalent in Matt Smith's doctor. And it's weird, but their timelines run opposite. So when Tennant meets her, she's already had all of the experiences he hasn't had yet with her. And so, at that moment where he meets her, she's already lived this entire life where she's interacted with him and he doesn't know her. And so their timelines run in reverse. So it's kind of interesting the way that they did that.
Somebody told me, and I don't remember who it was, it's been a day or 3, but they told me that if you watch it in this order, in a certain order, this doctor, then this doctor, and then go back and watch this doctor and watch it all through again, it'll make sense. I need to get on board with that before, and make sure I'm ready to watch it in the correct order before I do it. Because I want to get the most out of it. I really enjoy that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was a very complex story, but it was pretty amazing. And nowadays you can just binge watch the entire seasons, and it's so different because when I was watching it as it was hitting live. So I'd have to watch a show and then I have to wait a week. Right. So you become a little bit more emotionally invested because you've had time put into it, and rather than just sit and binge it, which I think is probably a bit of a disadvantage because you don't have, you know what I mean? It's a different feel because you're thinking about it more over the, you're like, what's going to happen next week? Instead of like, let's watch it right now. And you watch an entire season in 2 days when it normally would take several months. So
that's true. But there's so much out there to watch that being able to binge kind of helps you catch up, I think it's
that's
so
true.
much. Yeah. Me and my wife are going through all these different Star Trek series, trying to get all caught up so we can both watch Discovery and Picard together because we haven't either one of us seen him before. And some of them are better than others. Some of them are worse than others. But if you, I remember when Deep Space Nine and all that came out, or any of those shows, Babylon 5, Battlestar Galactica, BSG 2001 came out. When they came out and you had to wait a week, that was like, oh man.
Oh gosh, I know.
As a child of that era, I do appreciate the ability to just sit and watch another Game of Thrones. Yep, we'll do it. One more. Yep, one more. Let's do it. Got a beer. Yep, let's do this one. I've never seen Game of Thrones, but that's a great example.
No. I watched the new BSG. I sat and I thought it was great. I don't know that I finished all of it. It started to kind of peter off at the end. You're kind of like, it started to take a really strange direction. But I really enjoyed it. So I thought it was great. I always say that I'm part Cylon. I was kind of rooting for the Cylons.
Yeah. True enough.
People were terrible. I'm like, go Cylons. I'm fine with this.
They were. One of the things at the opening episode of the little mini movie, James Olmos's character comes up. Edward James Olmos' character comes up and he says, "People are shit. We're shit. We just deserve to die. Thank you. I'm out." Mic drop, and he left. And then the attack started. Like, you're not wrong. He was not wrong.
I kind of feel that way in the current climate.
Yeah. I'm actually considering voting for Asteroid 2020 or Giant Meteor 2020 is who I'm voting for. I didn't realize that Death Plague was going to be on the ballot, but now that it is, I may have to vote Death Plague. But
Death Plague. We have Murder Hornets now, so that's nice.
I know, Murder Hornets. Yeah, I know,
right? Godzilla or the Kaiju are going to come up in June.
That's good. I've seen the meme that says, you made it through April. Hello, May. Welcome to the next level of Jumanji. Global Jumanji.
You're going to have Kaiju and Godzilla are going to show up in June, guys. This is going to be great. It's going to be a great, great summer of exciting stuff.
There you go. Murder, death, kill on a scale you could not possibly imagine. That's why I live in the plains. Away from the coast is actually anti-kaiju move for me.
Yeah.
I'm allergic to kaiju drool, blood, fangs.
That's a good call. I had a really weird dream one night about the Transformers. I thought they were Transformers. I wasn't certain, but they were not. They were giant robots that were fighting in my neighborhood.
Okay.
And it was just like they were just setting stuff on fire and they were trying to evacuate my neighborhood. But I didn't know that was happening. So I had left an old job because I was visiting people there to see how they were doing. And I was coming back to my house and giant robots were fighting. I'm like, this is the weirdest dream I've had in a long time. I knew it was a dream, but I'm like, and it's like driving by and I'm like, wow, this is so vivid. It's like
the detail is amazing.
It's like my brain is great.
I was dreaming in 4K the other night. I got that little upgrade.
It's huge, massive robots setting fire to the local gas station. I'm like, this is amazing. People like screaming. I'm like, y'all, it's a dream. It's fine.
Right. Just wake up, pinch yourself. You'll be okay. I know it's my dream, but go ahead.
It's okay.
Well, speaking of the Transformers, did you watch the series? What did you think? Did you ever watch the cartoons before the movies? Shia LaBeouf, love him, hate him.
I have a couple Transformers around here somewhere.
Okay,
in my stuff, but I liked the cartoons. I liked that. I liked them. I tried to watch the movies, but they put me to sleep.
I tell you, they're a hard watch.
Yeah. It's like I'm not in. I get that people like explosions and the big booms and all that, and they think it's neat to see and it's cool to see giant robots doing stuff.
Cool, it is.
It's not super engaging for me. Okay, more robots are fighting. All right, why? Well, reasons. Okay.
Yeah. Again, they're fighting. And look, which one's which? I don't know. I could tell which one was which earlier, but now they're like rolling around. Yeah.
I like sci-fi, but I like a good story too.
True.
If it doesn't have a good story along with it, I'm just like.
Yep. And they could have done a really good story with, Autobots roll out. That was, Peter Cullen. They had Peter Cullen. They had the universe that the Autobots and the Decepticons were
Yeah.
created in. They could have done so many things, and they did that. Well, Michael Bay, I think, is the problem.
Yeah,
You
Michael
know?
Bay.
Yeah.
I always have thought, and I've said this on a couple other shows. Hannibal and Monty, they used to have an audio podcast, and I've known Monty for like 10 years, and I
Mhm.
used to be on his little show that he had where he lives out in New Orleans, go visit them and hang out, and then they'd have me on the radio show. But we all agreed that Michael Bay, he lost his niche. What he really needs is a Discovery Channel show to say, today we're going to blow up a gas tanker on a bridge.
Right.
And this is how we do it. I
And
would
we're
be
gonna,
for that.
yeah.
Show me how to make massive explosions and what they look like. Show me that.
And
I
how to
want to
film
know.
people running, because that's what we see:
Right.
explosions and running people.
Running people. I mean, just,
Yeah.
that should have been that's what he should do. He should just have a show blow shit up.
True enough.
Discovery Channel blow shit up.
Okay.
Today we're gonna blow up a water tower, and this is what it looks like. And then we flood a whole town. You're like, wow, this is
Right.
great. And then
That's
I
brilliant.
don't understand why Discovery doesn't jump on that. I've been like screaming that for years.
I love it. They could also do the same thing with Shia LaBeouf. Here's a video of Shia LaBeouf yelling at something. Here's another video of Shia LaBeouf yelling at something. Look, he's going to yell at something over here. That
Here
was
he is yelling at a lion and watch him run really fast.
oh, boom. Gotta have that. That was one of the hardest parts for me with the Transformers with Shia LaBeouf. I don't dislike the actor. I don't know. It's just really hard. He was he was annoying, aggravating. Then he's a weird guy for the girl, like some kind of weird kind of perv. Then he gets the girl, and then he's really kind of, in the next movie, he's shitty and abusive to her and treats her bad, and no wonder why she leaves. And then he gets another one and he treats her even worse. In the third movie, he spends his whole time screaming at this girl or treating her bad or making her feel bad or showing out how insecure he is because she's got a boss who's rich and who does things, and that's all bad because he got her. Why wasn't he enough to keep her? Apparently in his mind, I don't know, but the guy spends the entire time either yelling at her, yelling at the Autobots or the Transformers. I remember he goes to get them and he's sitting there screaming at the security guards. That's all Shia LaBeouf does throughout the entire movie. It was very much of a turnoff.
See, I fell asleep, so I couldn't comment.
Well, with all the explosions going off, of course.
Yeah.
Hey,
another explosion. This is so original.
And all those explosions are like Summonex for intellects,
Oh, God, it's weird. I didn't even see the one where they did the whole NASA mission. We went to the moon because of Transformers. That I was morally opposed to that. I was so mad. I'm like, are you really going to say we went to the moon because of giant robots? I was so angry. I went on a tirade on Twitter when that came out. I was just like, how dare you? We went to the moon because we could, and we developed the technology. We're the only animals on the planet to have been able, as far as we know, to have been able to leave the earth and explore space. We are the only ones. That's phenomenal.
Yep.
It's just, and so I wanted to punch things.
Yes.
We went to the moon because of robots. No, F you.
Right. Well, and that's a great analogy for robots. I mean, the robots being intelligent alien creatures aside, they're still playtail robots. Yeah, I get it. They really kind of played down the value of that.
I know that, and as a science person, that really just filled me with rage.
Yeah, absolutely. I can understand that for sure.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I have to ask you, have you seen the latest commercial for the Monopoly game that they've got for women? It's called Ms. Monopoly.
No, I didn't know that.
No, I'll have to send it to you. So they have this entire commercial where these girls, they're young girls, they're teens. One I think is, right out of middle school. They're building some things. They're trying to come up with these new innovations, trying to help the environment. They're exploring engineering stuff. I mean, it's given their kids, but it's showing this passion. And then the entire thing, that goes from these girls working on this stuff, showing how smart they are. We're doing these things. And then Hasbro goes, now we have Ms. Monopoly just for you. And I'm like, I just wanted to scream. I'm like, did you really just take Monopoly, throw a Ms. in front of it after having this profound, interesting commercial about these girls doing stuff? Like, they're going to sit and play your dumb game. Why not have like a chemistry set or our new science line featuring women in STEM, and you can replicate their experiments? That's not even what it was. It had nothing to do with freaking Monopoly. And I'm like, really? Really? Oh my God.
It's like Monopoly called the ad company who does the Burger King commercials and goes, hey, we want to do something serious. And that was their best effort.
Oh my God. It started out so strong. And then, if they had like, and now we've developed an entire series, Hasbro, this game about women in STEM, that would have been something else. But they were two completely unrelated things meant to perpetuate this entire gender-based game. Nobody cares. So it's I'm like,
well, and it's also kind of, I think, the end picture, because we know what Monopoly kind of is. It's an exemplification of the worst parts of capitalism.
Yes.
When you get through it. So essentially it's saying, be the richest, shittiest woman you can be, because now you can be that richest, shitty woman. Have you thrown anybody out of their home lately? Well, now you can.
Now you can. You can be a slumlord. It's great.
Yeah. I mean, moving up, ladies. Slumlord, moving up.
Yeah. Go from scientist to slumlord with this game that destroys families.
And somewhere out there is this person going, man, I just made this wonderful game and we did this wonderful commercial and it's so empowering for women. That's probably what's going through somebody's head.
Missed the mark completely.
It's like swing and a miss. Swing and a miss.
God. It's like the freaking Barbie series with, here's a Barbie astronaut, here's a Barbie doctor. I'm like, okay, well, that's at least better than a freaking Ms. Monopoly game.
Yeah, it's like one of the things, I guess it's just going from where we were to where we hope to be someday. Some people are still referred to as, a female doctor. She's a female doctor, instead of just saying she's a doctor, or he's a male nurse. Instead of just saying he's a nurse. You can often kind of get the male part. You don't need to be told.
Yeah.
But so there are those things that are still in our society.
I know, that's crazy. It's funny.
Especially with roles such as nurses and doctors, people of power. You wouldn't think those gender things would be, those lines would be blurred. We don't see that as a she or he. That's a doctor.
Yeah.
And
interesting thing. I was tweeting yesterday about going to my doctor, and here's the prescriptions because I've been ill, but I'm getting better. And somebody goes, well, he probably prescribed this to you for this reason. Your doc ended the assumption that my doctor was male. No. Woman, but that's okay, and you're not my doctor, so you don't get to tell me what my prescriptions are.
Right.
It's like, well, your doctor was wrong. Well, you didn't examine me. I don't know who you are, and you're not my doctor.
Can you imagine showing up at your doctor's office and going, well, no, I did this because the internet person told me I should.
The internet person that says that they're an emergency medic said that you did it wrong.
Right. That's true.
Like, why don't you call them? Here's their number and tell them how wrong they are, and let me know how that goes. And I thought, no, that'd just be awful. I don't want to do that to that person.
Well, there's a lot of that goes on. I have to say, I've been, their ignorance is everywhere, and I have worn that hat. I have a son. I adopted him whenever he was little. And one time he got sick. He was like always coughing. He was coughing. We took him to the doctor, and this lady doctor, this woman comes out and she's talking, and it wasn't that she was a lady. It was just that, what she did. I'm like, so she comes out and she talks to him for a second, pats him on the back, listens to his chest. And then she goes, puts on her fingers on his right here. Yeah. And she pushes and she goes, does that hurt? And he goes, oh yeah. And she goes, okay, allergies. And gives him some pills. And I'm like, he ain't got allergies. He got a cough. There's something wrong. And I was kind of a jerk. I was a little jerk because I didn't know what the hell I was talking. And of course,
Yeah,
you know, he
I've
took
been a
his
jerk
medicine and
too.
his allergies stopped draining down in the back of his throat and he quit coughing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've been a jerk too, so we learn and we grow. That's what's important.
Some of us
Some
do.
of us. Yeah, some of us do not learn and grow.
I know. Yeah. You know, I live in New Mexico where turn signals are a sign of weakness. I understand the whole learn and grow thing and those who don't.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let me ask you back to these
Sure.
sci-fi things. We
Oh,
can
yes.
continue to vilify other people later. I'm all about that. That's like a hobby. I should do my own stream. Anyway, what is your current favorite sci-fi? Are you going through any series now?
Oh, let's see. I'm going through this is kind of a sci-fi series.
Okay.
There's a show on Hulu about a time traveler who goes back in time to try to stop the JFK assassination. It's based on a Stephen King novel. I think it's called 11/22/63. I think is what it's called, but
Okay.
it's on Hulu, and it's the whole premise is this guy he goes to this particular diner, and the guy who owns the diner, he looks a bit different over just a short period of time, and he talks to, I think James Franco is in it. He's the main character. So James Franco goes to this diner and he's sitting there and he's talking to the guy, and he goes, "Hey, I want you to go into this closet. Just trust me. Just go into this closet and then come back and tell me what you see." And he goes into this closet and he's suddenly in 1960, in the same spot in time where he's in 1960. And he comes back and he's like, "What the heck was that?" And so he explains to him, and he goes through, he's like, "I have spent the past 5, 6 years or whatever trying to go back in time to stop certain things from happening to try to help people." Um, and so he has this huge file of all of these different things that he's collected when he's gone back in time over and over and over again, and he gives it to James Franco. It's like, "I want you to stop the assassination of JFK." And so he's got to go through and he's using, it's almost like a Back to the Future kind of thing,
Mhm.
but it's a bit more serious. And there's a lot more of, who's involved in the JFK assassination. And then you have all the different dynamics. Anytime he changes something in history, there's some pushback to where there's a consequence somewhere. So it's pretty neat. And that's a bit of sci-fi. I think that's sci-fi, but
Absolutely.
it's
Yeah.
something cool that I've been watching.
It sounds interesting. I don't normally like a lot of the time travel, like in Star Trek or any of those movies or
Yeah, yeah.
series. Whenever I'm watching them, I'm like, oh yeah, messing with time again.
Yeah.
But if it's done right, it can be good. I've seen some that were
Mhm.
really good.
There's like interpersonal relationships that are being
Mhm,
developed, and he's like, "Should I get involved in this and try to help? I mean, what kind of cost is that going to be on my overall mission?"
mhm.
So, and then he recruits somebody in that time to try to help him. And so so there's a lot of different dynamics. How is he going to get money? Is he going to get a job? I mean, and then
Right.
if he, it's just, there's a lot of different complications that arise, and it's just interesting to see how he solves different stuff.
I enjoy James Franco as an actor myself.
He's a good actor.
Yeah.
He's a good actor.
Is it the way you say it? That it's a series? Is this right? It's a
Yes,
series.
it's a series.
It
It's
kind
on
of sounds like
Hulu.
a different version of like a different version of Quantum Leap.
Kind of, except it's just a singular mission of trying to stop the JFK assassination. And he
Yes.
has a few years to do it, while he's in that time period. But the thing is he can't go back to his own, because if he goes back to its own, it resets everything that he did if he tries to go back again. So it's a one shot thing. And if he gets it wrong, he has to start over. It's kind of like a freaking video game. So if you go walk back through the closet and come back, it's reset to 1960 that time. It just
Okay.
resets every single time. So it's pretty interesting. This is like a one shot thing. So if he spends years trying to work this out and it doesn't happen, he's got to start all over again.
Wow. Sounds like a great show. What was it called again?
I think it's 11/22/63. It's a
11/22.
date, the date that Kennedy was assassinated.
Gotcha. And how far before Kennedy's assassination is he transported every time he goes back?
It's 3 years prior. It's around
Okay.
So he has 3 years to stop the
3 years.
assassination.
And so the other guy's been trying to do it. He can't do it, and now he's asking James Franco to start
Yes,
doing it. Why
because
is it
one
that
of
he can't do it?
right. So it's early on, he explains why he can't do it
Okay.
because he has spent so much time messing with the time continuum.
Uh-huh.
He one the cost of that is he's developed cancer.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so he's like, I've got terminal cancer and I can't do this. Here's all of my information. Can you stop the assassination?
Right.
Essentially.
Here's your cancer.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, but
Yeah.
if he's already done all the footwork, you
What
know what I
What
mean?
does he
So he's
believe
like,
will
just,
happen?
huh?
What does he believe will happen by
He
stopping?
thinks it'll make the world a better place. If they hadn't have had all that, it might have stopped the transition to where they are now in the US
Mm-hmm.
with the situation of things, the excessive, once we had like certain Republicans got in,
Absolutely.
we had a higher increase in poverty and, stuff like that. He's just hoping it makes the world better if they were to keep Kennedy around a bit longer.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah, or change. There was a lot of things that could have changed.
Right.
There are several points in the last century I could name that would, if we would make that thing not happen, the
Yeah. Yeah.
forming of Fox News, if you could stop that from happening. No, really, where would we
Gosh.
be
Yeah.
today?
No kidding.
You know, there was this, I don't remember the name of this federal act that made sure the journalists had to follow a certain line. The
Yes.
conservatives got rid of that and then literally started Fox News a year and a half, a year later,
Well,
or
with
something like that.
I think Dan Rather, I think he wrote I have yet to find it. I know he wrote a really long post on Facebook once
Mhm.
about that because he was around at the time where they were lobbying for airtime and it had to be unbiased news reporting.
Mhm.
But that was just on the federally regulated airwaves, not on cable. Cable, Fox News is not considered news, it's
Mhm.
considered entertainment. And so that's how they circumvent that sort of thing. They don't call themselves technically news. They say that they're entertainment. So on a cable channel, since they're not using technically the federally regulated airwaves like they did with standard television, um,
Good.
they're not held to the same standards as those individuals. So they can say whatever they want and say, oh, we're just entertainment, we're all opinions. And
Yeah.
then that's fine. And that's how they get and circumvent all of that.
Can you imagine though, had we not had that, had they not had that, had the far right not had Fox News as a
Propaganda
propaganda
machine.
propaganda machine, right? Well funded, well organized, bunch of
Yep.
nutbaggery. How does that happen? If only we could, if only from my perspective, the forces for good could get that same organization and the same money and the same backing and the same progress and have the same, wins. I just think
Yeah.
the world would be we would be benefiting these other people. We've got one group of people whose goal is to help raise the world up. And we've got another group of people who appears their only goal is to raise themselves, a narrow
Yeah.
few up, damn the rest. Sorry, didn't mean to go there. Sci-fi,
It's
not
okay.
politics.
It's okay. I mean,
Yeah,
we see this in Star Wars. I
there
mean,
you
the
go.
president's had one of his campaign people say, "Yeah, we're like the Death Star." I'm like, "You do know that's just a giant space ball,
Yeah.
essentially, that's floating in the sky that's easily dismantled by one person, and the sole purpose is to induce fear. So is this
Yes.
really what you wanna go with?" I mean,
Yes. Used to commit atrocities. you
yes.
know.
Let's
Yeah.
blow up planets with this. We're the Death Star. That's how, like, you're not as smart as they are.
Yeah.
And secondly, the thing is easily destroyed. It's been destroyed every single time by like a person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm like, okay.
Bad example. you know.
Sci-fi.
Sci-fi. Well, no, I mean, bad example of them using the Death Star. Well, some we often
Right.
have Star Wars, the whole Star Wars, Star Trek thing.
Right.
Um,
Uh, ugh,
let's talk about that if you got a moment. Have you seen the
sure.
most recent Star Wars movies?
I have. I
And
have.
your thoughts? Did you enjoy the way the last one went, or
I
there's mixed
I
reviews?
enjoyed it, but
Mhm.
I typically there's certain things that I will find enjoyment for,
Mhm.
um, and I know a lot of people have nostalgia wrapped up in a lot of the series and in the movies. For me, Star Wars, if I'm going to watch it, a Star Wars film, there's certain films I will go to the theater and watch to experience it that
Hmm.
way. Now, it's not quite the same on my TV versus in a theater, and
Right.
that's where probably the disconnect happens. But I enjoyed them. I liked the story. I think there were some things that they could probably have done better.
Hmm.
There's few plot holes, but overall, I mean, I found it's a Star Wars movie. So I went and I took it for what it was, and I sat there and kind of, went through it and enjoyed it. I
Got
mean,
what you paid for.
you know,
Yeah.
I I liked Ray. I liked her character. Um, I it broke my heart when Han Solo was killed by Kylo, and I'm
Hmm.
like, oh my god, I'm not gonna recover from this.
Yeah.
But I felt the same way when they blew up Vulcan in the Star Trek reboot. I was very angry for a while, but then
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I can treat this as fan fiction and say
Yeah.
this is just an interpretation.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be canon. Doesn't It's just there's a place for all of it.
Yeah. And then they
So
hit us with the different fractured universes, and now we got it that this is Enterprise is different. It's not in the same
right,
universe as Picard and Kirk. So yeah, we get it
right.
now. Yeah.
So I mean, and that's okay. And there are some people who don't like it, and that's okay. It's like The Mandalorian. Every single time I've tried to watch that series, it's put me to sleep.
Really?
Every single time. It's just not engaging enough for me. And people are like, well, how could you say that? I enjoy this so much. Well, if you enjoy it, that's fine. I don't, unless I really want to go to sleep for some reason.
Yeah.
It's not my jam. But they're like, Baby Yoda, I'm like, yeah, that wasn't enough to hold my attention.
I
But
get Baby Yoda.
that's okay. I think a lot of that you have to have a lot of buy-in for the
Mm.
nostalgia
That's
for some
probably
of
true.
and that's okay. I don't have that. I'm not a massive Boba Fett,
Right.
Mandalorians. I have, and there are some people that are hardcore Mandalorian fans, and
That's
that's
true.
great. I'm not one of them. And, but I got a lot of hate on that on Twitter. Somebody yelled at me. There were like
Really.
people yelling at me. You're just shitting on what I love. I'm like, well, I don't like it, and that's okay. You
Yeah.
can like it, and that's wonderful. It's like Garth Brooks music. I hate him. I hate his music.
Right.
He's made millions and millions and millions of dollars on his stuff. People like him. I can't stand it. I want to like put knives in my ears. I can't do it. But other people like it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
We can have Garth Brooks, we can have The Mandalorian, we can have all kinds of Star Wars and Star Trek. Some people will like some things, they won't like others. That's
Yeah.
literally how art works.
Yeah. We often do Star Trek or Star Wars, and a lot of people do that, but I don't see them. Even though I often ask the question, "Which do you
Yeah.
like?" Because people divide them. I don't see them as being anything. They're not really comparable. They're so different. Star Trek is our future. Star
Yeah.
Wars is not our future. Star Trek
Yeah.
is a commentary about what we want to be as we go forward. It's either you can be, if you're on the left, you can be Star Trek. On the right, you can be Mad Max. These are your
Yeah, I
options.
mean, to
Yeah.
be fair, Star Wars is space wizards. It's
That's
like
right. Star Wars is far away. It's none of our business. It's a galaxy. It doesn't have anything to do with humans. We're in there only because we're in there. It's nothing to do with us. It's a run and gun action thing. Somebody mentioned Star Wars. Asked me in a stream yesterday, what about Star Wars? And I was like, you know what? Star Wars is an interesting weekend. Star Trek is a love affair. It's got all
yeah,
these weak movies. We got as many movies as Star Wars does, but we've got 1, 2, 3 series that have 21 years of
yeah,
episodes between them, not counting Enterprise, Discovery, and
right.
I mean, so and
And
it's
they're all
all
different, and
they are.
they all cater to different audiences. I started watching a bit of Discovery. It's okay.
I,
I haven't bought
hmm,
in,
I have a problem with Discovery. I
I
could
mean,
rant if you moment. Oh,
like you, I quit watching it, and I
yeah,
hadn't bought in at
yeah,
all with that one. And I hear mixed reviews on Picard, and I'm like,
yeah. I'm
I haven't,
scared.
I love Patrick Stewart.
Me
He's my
too.
old man crush.
Yeah,
I love him, but it's like,
mine too.
I haven't bought in. I haven't seen Picard yet.
Yeah.
So
I'm afraid. I'm afraid to see. I've watched, we're trying to get through Discovery. We did a 2-hour live stream yesterday, and the second hour of it was just me pretty much ranting about Discovery. It's got some wonderful the actors are great. The actors in the show do great. It's the story writing did these people not even watch Star Trek at all? You know, the first couple episodes, I'm like, what the hell? The end of the first season, though, I'm like, man, they did some good shit. And I can see how this is all going to play out. It's like somebody got a hold of it and did, you know what, we're going to do this right. You know, we already screwed up with the first couple of episodes, and we brought in this mycelial network nonsense that we're never going to, you know, we screwed up there, but let's right this ship and go forward. That's what I thought. And then we get into season 2, and I'm like, oh my God, kill me now. I don't want to watch this episode. We're watching this episode. I'm like, if they brought that dude back to life, I'm going to freaking lose. Oh my God, it's that dude. I am out of here. I mean, me and Discovery, and then we're only 5 episodes into the second season, and it's like dragging me through a mesquite bush to get me to go in there to watch another episode.
Oh God, it shouldn't be a chore.
It shouldn't.
A chore.
It shouldn't.
See,
you know,
that's how
they're
I
bad
felt with
episodes.
Game of Thrones. I mean, I hated Game of Thrones.
Did
I've
you?
seen every episode and watched every season. If I'm gonna hate something, I'm gonna thoroughly make certain I understand why I hate it.
Yeah, understood. I totally get that. Totally. That's why I'm actually thinking about doing either a stream or a recorded video or what, because about Discovery, because I'm a fan. I tell people often, when I was 5 years old, my mom made me a little yellow gold Kirk outfit with the braids and everything. For one, she made one for me and my twin brother to share. We were poor.
Yeah.
Anyway, you know, that's kind of the history I've got back. And when you go back and you start doing these things, you're just trashing the thing I love.
Right. You know, I get that. And you know, it's just when I have dissenting opinions on different things that people love,
Oh
I'm
yeah,
like,
no, that's different.
you know, and then they get really mad. Well, you're trashing something like, well, like, no, that's just my opinion.
Oh
You
yeah.
can like and I recognize there are people who are hardcore Discovery fans. That's their audience.
Right.
Okay.
That's right.
There's Star Wars stuff that I don't watch and I can't, like Mandalorian. But people love that. And like, you're trashing. Well, no, I'm not. You watch that. That is for you, not me. And
well,
that's
you know,
okay.
Those things can both happen. I mean, I enjoy Mandalorian. Me and the wife do. I don't like a lot of the new Star Trek or Star Wars, but the Mandalorian I like. But you're welcome to go trash it. We can both, those are not mutually exclusive things. And just because if you do, what's that got to do with me? I don't care.
Right.
I don't complain about the people who complain about Star Trek. I'm complaining about actual Star Trek. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For example, we've got the Star Wars movies. I loved me some, Luke Skywalker was it when I was a kid, because he was, you know, my age. I was a kid. I could relate to him. Now as an adult, I watch those movies. I'm like, that guy, he's just a whining baby crying all the time. Where's my lightsaber? Where's Obi-Wan? Where's this? Well, I'm going to go do that. You know, I mean, he just whines through the whole series of movies until he becomes suddenly like he spends 3 hours with Yoda, and then he starts introducing himself as a Jedi master.
Yeah. You know, after he was eaten alive by mosquitoes in a swamp, Yoda set him right. Like, you can live this way, Luke, you know, do what I say.
And you know, and so we watch these movies, then you come out with the new movies, and then you get this distinct impression that, you know, there is a force out there. There are a lot of force users, but if you want to be a super badass with the force, you got to be a descendant of one of these two families. You got to be a descendant. And that's kind of how I was like, okay, so that got old. As a grown up, I watch these movies like episode 1, 2, and 3, and I'm like, you know, it'd really be nice to have just normal people be able to use the force.
Right.
So then we watch these new movies, and sure enough, now they got normal people out there using the force. There aren't so much Jedis around, you know, but you got the guy with the stick, and he's using the force and all these things, and they're doing the force. I thought, man, that's kind of cool. And then Rey is nobody, but yet she's using the force. And I'm thinking that's great. And then they trash all that in the final movie when we find out that Rey actually is somebody. She's actually a descendant of the biggest name in all of this. I'm like, oh man, that kind of created a negative pressure environment for me.
That, I kind of get that. I understand that.
Yeah. But the visuals are stunning. Got to give them props.
They are.
You know?
I mean, you can take it for what it is. So that's just. I still enjoyed it. I mean, there are some things I thought, oh, that feels a bit like a cop out, just a little bit there, you know. Well, that felt that lazy writing, but
that's true. Okay, so it's been about a month or two since I've seen it. I wasn't really preparing mentally for this part of it.
Yeah,
But
it's
let me do
okay.
this. When it opened, there's this few minutes of Kylo Ren going and meeting the Emperor.
Yeah.
And I got to watch that. And it was like dark and scary, and it's all, and I was like, oh, that was a good show. And then my internet stopped. And I was like, damn. And I didn't get to see the rest of the show. So like a couple days later, the internet's working. I watched the first part. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I watch it. And then it switches to John Boyega's character, I think, if I remember right, and somebody else. And they're running from some stormtroopers. And the stormtroopers are riding these bikes with a little thing on the back. And it's like flinging the stormtrooper. And it goes all stupid. Like the what do you call it? The Keystone Cops of sci-fi for, it's like these things, then they jump into a really serious, cool, ominous moment, and then back to this stupid Jar Jar Binks-ish type of thing. I was really looking forward to the final movie. I was really disappointed. But I'm glad to hear other people enjoyed it.
It's there were things that could have been done better. I certainly agree with that, but that can be said of a lot of things too.
True. Again, every time I watch one of these new Star Treks, I'm like, I watched Enterprise and I was disappointed because Enterprise was not the Star Trek I'd grown to know with the Next Generation, Deep Space Nine. And then the Orville came out when Discovery came out, and I chose to watch Discovery the first time.
Yeah.
And I got about 8 or 9 episodes into it before I'm like, I don't know, I stopped.
I love the Orville.
Yeah, well, I only watched the first 3 or 4 episodes of the Orville, and I'm like, it does look like Star Trek. I'm surprised they're not getting sued, but it's just too campy and too stupid,
It's a comedy show.
Absolutely.
It's meant to be comedy.
So I went on. Then Dr. David Kyle Johnson, he's a guest on the show. He talked me into watching the Orville again. I really did enjoy it. There was still a little camper. There were certain areas, but it did start taking itself more serious. The graphics in that show are phenomenal. They have the battle where the robot people come.
Yeah.
What are the Kalons? And they're attacking. They're just everywhere. There's a boom, boom, boom. I'm like, run. It was wonderful. I loved it.
It took a serious turn. A little trivia on Seth MacFarlane. Seth MacFarlane, the new season of Cosmos is out, hosted by Neil deGrasse Tyson over on National Geographic Channel. Seth MacFarlane produced and funded both of those seasons out of his own pocket because he felt like they needed more science shows on TV. So it actually originally aired on Fox, the first Cosmos with Neil deGrasse Tyson. And that was all funded by Seth MacFarlane. And he doesn't get, when I met Neil deGrasse Tyson, I told him, I said, could you please thank Seth? Could you do me a favor? And he's like, what? Sure. I said, could you please thank Seth for bringing back science to prime time? Because I know he funded that with his own money. And he goes, he doesn't get enough credit for that. And so I said, well, tell him Scientist Mel, science communicator, thanks him heavily. Because when I was teaching high school, I used a lot of those shows in my classroom. And it's the same level of graphics as the Orville. And so if you want to watch some really good fundamental science, a lot of the foundations of, biology, physics, chemistry, check out Cosmos. It's super high quality and it's really good.
Really enjoyed the first season. I haven't seen the most recent one yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. I'm just waiting. I'm like, I feel like I need to give it a lot of my attention.
Isn't it sad? Isn't it just a shame that there's like 19 seasons of Dating My Cousin out there, and yet we can't get Cosmos funded? I mean, he has to go fund. I mean, really, that's very sad.
I know.
All these horrible shows,
Well,
disgusting.
I mean, think of my plight. I'm a science communicator, and there have been people made all kinds of different videos about me, and as a means to vilify me or whatever.
Of course.
Well, I hope you make a video about me. I'm never gonna do that. So make a response video and we'll watch it. I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna do that either because I don't do that. But they'll get lots of views for all of this reality TV style drama-based commentary stuff. But you have me on there who's talking about the latest updates with COVID-19, why something is not helpful, actually incorporating games and prizes and stuff like that on my show, saying, hey guys, check this out. This is what's going on. I know you've been hearing this. This is why that's wrong. This is what's the correct information is. And I don't just do COVID-19. I do all kinds of other content.
Have you considered Have you considered
So,
adding explosions and running people?
you know, I should.
Maybe you should.
I've tried to incorporate a teeny bit of commentary for particularly the science denier type of videos where I pull this up and then but I do get visibly frustrated. And I'm like, okay, I cannot listen to this so much
Yeah.
anymore. It's just like, I'm done. This is why this is wrong. Y'all don't be this person.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So
so
that's
there's a
that was your experience with a response video?
Oh, no, no, no.
Oh.
No. Well, I'll pull up a video with somebody it's a viral video and
Oh,
that's perpetuating some
gotcha.
pseudoscience.
I
I
understand.
don't respond. It's like I don't respond to that other stuff where people will say something about me like I don't care.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like
Well, I've thought about doing response videos where I see other people putting out something crazy, but then so let's pick of a YouTuber, a religious YouTuber church over here. They're putting out craziness, and I'm going to do commentary on it. So I gotta go watch all their craziness.
yeah.
And I got no time for that. I don't want to do that anyway. If I was going to spend time watching something, I watch my friends and support their channels and stuff like that. But
Right.
so those people who do response videos have to go sit through, or somebody sits through lots of videos to find these things. I just don't have time. I could see
I
if somebody did a response to me and they're like, Chris Mallard, your Evil God Monster of Abraham series is horrible, and this is why. I could see me going, okay, you're a jackass. But,
don't. Yeah,
but
I
yeah,
could do that. I might make a fleeting comment every once in a while and go, "Hey guys, I'm worse than a Nazi. Did you know?" So,
uh,
I'm like,
yes.
because I
Us-
said this.
yeah.
This is funny. Moving on. Yeah.
And you're female. That's got to be half the
You know,
battle right there.
I've been told I need to be in the kitchen, you know,
Yeah.
making sandwiches. I'm worse than a Nazi. I need to save up money for plastic surgery, all kinds of stuff. Yeah. I'm
Wow.
like, okay.
Really? I saw this meme on the internet. It shows this overweight gentleman in his underwear, not trying to disparage anybody, sitting on
Yeah.
a couch, and he's sitting there watching this like a pageant on TV, and there's
Yeah.
these women coming out, and the comment is, her nose is too big. Like he's got any right to talk about these beautiful women. There, she's got this tiny little flaw, and here he is, all sitting there
Yeah.
horrible. I can only imagine about what the people who tell you need plastic surgery. What do those people
Well,
look like?
one, he's I don't
Like
even
Edgar
know.
from Men in Black. I mean,
But, he's not intelligent in any he's mad because I won't come on his channel and debate him. And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't debate facts. I'm sorry. If
right.
you don't accept evolution, if you don't accept scientific evidence, there's no purpose in me having a conversation with you because it's just going to be a circle. Now, if you want to learn, if there's something you don't understand and you're like, "Hey, I would really like to know more about this," I'm happy to have a conversation with you, but I'm not debating whether or not something's real.
Science is real,
I'm
yeah.
just not doing
Have you
that.
heard of Darth Dawkins?
I have heard of him. I
Yeah.
haven't watched any of his things, but I've
You've
heard of
never
him.
experienced him? Well, occasionally comes into my chat and challenges me to debates, or asks me why he can't talk. You and I are sitting here having a perfectly good conversation. He'll come into the chat and try to drive the entire conversation to him. Why
Yeah.
won't you answer these questions about atheism? Why won't you defend atheism? Because I'm not talking to you, jackass. I'm talking to her. And that's been the recurring theme with him. That's how I met him. First time I met him, I'm sitting here, I'm talking to you, somebody else. I don't know who it was.
Yeah, yeah.
Neil, the 604 atheist, was not on my show, but he was listening at work.
Yeah.
Okay. And Darth Douchebag comes in my channel and he starts going, "Hey, Neil, how come you won't debate me?" And he starts attacking Neil in my chat.
Wow.
That was the first
Yeah.
time I've met him. And now he'll do that to me. So I was actually a guest on somebody else's show a week ago. It
Yeah.
was Mama Atheist's show, Godless Granny's show. I was on Godless Granny's show, and we're just doing a normal thing. It's her birthday. We were doing her birthday stream, and Darth Dawkins comes in the channel and starts, "Hey, how come you don't let me debate me on your show?" Attacking me on her live stream about what happened on our live. I'm like, what a jackass. Yeah, so
It's just funny. Yeah, so I'll have people pop in my chat, ask me entirely random questions about some drama somebody's trying to stir up. I'm like, yeah, don't talk about that here.
right.
I'm sorry. I don't acknowledge any of that because a lot of those people just want attention.
That's right.
They
That's right.
just
And that's what he gets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just ignore people like that, and then and so I've had flat earthers, anti-vaxxers leave comments on my channel, and I end up just deleting. I have no problem. People are like, well, you're inhibiting their free speech. No, I'm deleting their comments that have absolutely nothing to do
Right.
with what the content is.
And this ain't America. This isn't a democracy. This is my pride, my thing. You don't get to tell me
Right.
what to do on my thing.
I also find it interesting that these same people will sit there and go, "How can you let your followers talk to me like this after
Hmm.
they've come after me for something?" I'm like on Twitter, like I can't delete their comments, and this is a
Right.
public forum. What do you expect me to do?
Yeah.
If you're going to say something ugly to me and I happen to quote tweet you saying, well, here's information on this, and you happen to have swear words in your thing, and then people go back and say, hey, maybe don't be this way.
Yeah.
Don't tweet on a public forum. Now, I try not to instigate any cyberbullying. And if I see something like that going on, then I'll be like, hey, guys, just maybe let up a bit. But a lot of my followers don't do that. They don't really engage in that. But the ones who are like, you shouldn't delete comments, get mad when they say something ugly to me on Twitter and people respond.
Hmm.
So
Oh
it's
yeah.
like, you can't
Absolutely.
have both ways. You're not allowed to say something ugly to me and
Yeah.
let me leave it up,
That's right.
or and then get upset when people are like, yeah, you're being a bit of a dick right
Yeah.
now. So
There are some atheist channels out there. I can think of one at least that has this "we don't delete any comments" policy. Not me. No, 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 no. If
mm-mm.
I've had a couple of them. I'm doing this series called "The Evil God Monster of Abraham." You heard me mention it earlier, and I'm going through the Bible chapter by chapter. And I started the first couple of chapters, and people dropped them just before the first of the year.
uh,
Genesis 1 and 2. People are like, you don't know what you're talking about. You should not be doing this. This is not. You need
yeah,
to, okay. And then after the turn in the video, this guy, same guy, he posts, I warned you. I told you not to be posting this stuff. Blah, 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 blah. I was like, delete, bitch. You're not going to sit there and tell me. I just hit him from, I don't play with that. I'm not going to argue with him. I'm not going to let it escalate. I just go
yeah.
on.
I
I have,
just
yeah.
delete and move on and
Love
let
you.
them
Bye bye.
scream into the void, man. I mute so often on Twitter.
Oh, do
People are
you?
like, you're just ignoring me. You're this. Yes, I am. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not required or obligated to engage with you in any capacity.
Right.
And if you're rude, I'm just, even if you want to learn, if you sit here and say ugly things to me, here's where all my resources are. I'm not talking to you anymore.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah. We don't have to. Yeah. And, these things like the challenges from these people who, as a matter of fact, Darth Dawkins, I was willing to have him on my show. I was like, if you want to come on and have a normal, fun kind of morning show and laugh with us
yeah,
and talk about something,
yeah,
that'd be great. If you want to debate me and argue with me and put me on trial and do all these things, I'm not interested. I don't want to do that.
yeah. I
So
mean,
he gave me his email address. I sent him an email stating all those things. I even read it out here on the chat. He responded going later, right after he sent his cronies into the channel to try to get me in. I'm like, dude, I did my part. Anyway, so he responds going, if you think I'm going to come on your channel and just talk about willy-nilly stuff while you vilify my God, talk about all, then you're not right. And you need to defend atheism. And what about your points on it? I'm like, fuck you. I'm out, bitch.
yeah,
I haven't
no.
responded to him since. Well, I did. I was like, okay, so you are the troll I thought you were. Sorry. Have a good day, sir. And he sent me mail since then, literally calling me. Actually, in the first one, he's calling me a coward. Whenever I said no, actually, mine was really polite. I'm like, listen, I don't want to debate you. Please respect me. And if you don't want to come on my show and have a good normal morning show, if all you want to do is debate and be ugly, please go away. Please respect me. Go
Oh,
away.
I know. And it's funny. And people will be like, you're thin skinned, Mel, because you mute and block people. I'm like, no. And I might highlight, hey, this person made a rape joke. Don't do that, guys. And they'll be like, you're so thin skinned. You're just going to get content like that,
Yeah.
and I'm just going, I don't have to accept it. And I can highlight it and use this as a teachable moment, as like, maybe don't treat a woman like this on the internet. This is kind of garbage. And they're like, she's so thin. No, stand in front of a committee,
Mm.
defend your research in a post-grad degree for science for several hours. Did that twice, once to stay in my master's program and once to graduate for 2 hours, get rigorously questioned
Mm-hmm.
where they try to find where your gap in knowledge is, and that's where they zero in and see how much you don't know. Do that for 2 hours, not once but twice. That was just for one of my masters. I had to do that for the other one too. So we're not going to call me thin-skinned if I have to do that and just get
Right.
completely torn apart by my committee and say thank you very much for that and go sit down and get over myself, because we're not doing that here. So it's like, we're
Yeah.
not going to call me thin skinned. You undergo peer review and all that stuff, and then come back and we'll talk.
Right. Well, that's the whole deal. It's not that you're being thin-skinned about it. You're just being normal and respectful to yourself. Listen, I'm not going to put up with your bullshit. That doesn't make me thin-skinned. That makes me taking care of myself. That's how I see it. You know, they're just going to try to goad you with that. You know, you're thin-skinned. So now you're supposed to go, no, I'm not thin-skinned. Okay, abuse me. Right? That's what they want.
You just can't take abuse. Well, I don't have to.
That's right. I don't have to. I've got a middle finger right here that you can observe. I will dim it. You know what I mean? And we will go our separate way. Yeah. Hell yeah. That stuff that daring you to take abuse, you ain't got to go there.
She's just going to get rape jokes like that. Well, yes, I can. And I can point it out and say, hey, she doesn't have a good sense of humor. Well, maybe not about rape, but if you think that's funny, don't bring that to my house.
Right.
This is my house. These are my rules. If you want to have that over there, but if you're engaging me in that, you're not getting anywhere. So It's like, what is your goal here? I'm not personally upset or crying in the corner because of what you said, but I'm going to point out that maybe don't do this to people,
Yeah. Here's one of the things that I really like this about Joan. Hi, Joan. Brainbug is here. Brainbug showed up. Dean Kruger, some other folks showed up. But Miss Joan pointed out, says, I'm just listening, but have to comment one thing, that the Daily Atheist and Scientist Mel, our time is too valuable to waste on trolls.
That's exactly right.
That's right. And, that's kind of the discussion I've had about me and Darth. If you hear me talking about Darth Dawkins or something like that on my channel, it's because I have chosen to do that. And, Darth Dawkins does occasionally pop into my chat. He'll create a new name and he'll come into my chat and he'll argue with me. And I'll have to stop and I'll go, you know what? You need to go on, and banners, please ban him. Stuff like, and they'll ban him and stuff like that. But every time that happens, I know this is going to sound dumb. Forgive me. It's all drama. And as soon as he lands in my chat and starts arguing with me, people go, oh, and they start watching and the views go up and they start commenting. So every time he comes into my stuff trying to cause me trouble, he drives up my viewership and just helps me. I don't want to acquiesce to that and give him any power by letting him on the show or anything like that. If he comes into my chat, so if I've learned to control that with him. Darth, if you're watching, buddy, because he can't respond. If he did, we can't see it. So, if you're watching, you're there. You're my puppet, bitch. Sorry.
It's so funny. It's just, it's
a bad
funny.
man.
So every time somebody talks ugly about me on another channel, they'll come to my channel and they'll be like, what's wrong with those folks? She's nothing but science here. And she's funny. It's like, they don't live in this headspace. There's nothing on my channel. I think I did have a response video to one debate that I did with Tommy Hull. And some people watched that and I was like, this is kind of, and then I didn't do that again. I'm like, this is weird. This is not for me. So, but it's funny. And after that, I don't debate people anymore. If somebody wants me to debate, a modern day debate has contacted me before to be opposite a young earth creationist. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm yet. And then somebody else wanted to talk about something like, are we in a patriarchy? And I thought, okay, that's something we could debate. I'm like, I'm going to need his sources that he's going to use and I'll supply mine. And this is what the topics are, right? And this is what we're looking at. I said, if you can give me your citations, your sources, I'll share mine. And we can set up a debate. Didn't want to do that.
That's strange.
You don't want, then this isn't a debate. This is, I just want to yell at a woman about how we're not in a patriarchy. And I'm like, I'm not walking into that. So.
My brief experience with debates, because part of me wants to debate, part of me doesn't. So I when I was new, first couple of weeks into the live streaming, I agreed to do a debate. I didn't care about the topic. I feel like I'm the guy who's got the upper ground. You pick the topic, you be whatever you want. So I let them pick the topic and it ended up being on the divinity of Christ. Is he is God, are God and Jesus the same person, or are they not? And I was like, really? That's what a Christian wants to debate an atheist about? You should debate a different Christian about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I went ahead and I went into them and I opened up. I was like, listen, this is essentially what you've got. You've invited me over to your house to ask me if the character in your comic book is both Superman and God. And all I can tell you is that I believe that you believe it is. And that's all I got. Whenever we got into the actual debate, this guy was talking about things like, I'm like, look at the murder, death, kill here in the Bible. Look at how right in the beginning it tells you to go kill these people. And his argument was that they weren't real people. They were descendants of the Nephilim, or the descendants of the children of the sons of angels or the sons of God. And you know what I mean? They weren't. And I'm like, yeah, but if you start doing that, who's a human and who's not a human? Where do you end that? And anybody you determine is not a human, you can suddenly start wiping out. Is that not correct? So we got brown people over there. Surely they're not human.
Yeah. Oh God.
Where does it end?
Before they were like, I used to work at Chick-fil-A as a teen for a couple years before I got better. And there was a guy there who legitimately believed that black people were the descendants of Cain. And I'm like, well, that's just racist.
That's right.
You're just racist. That's what this is. And he looked at me, no, it's not. It's in the Bible. I'm like, the mark of Cain is them being black. I'm like, no, that's not what. And at the time I was a Christian. I'm like, the Bible literally does not say that. And I knew this because I had gone to state for Genesis. I was in Bible quizzing. So I had gone to state for several books of the Bible in state competitions. I'm like, yeah, it didn't say that at all in Genesis. You have just made this up so you can be racist. And this is me as a teen. Right. And I'm like,
well, the other things I've heard, I've never heard that about Cain. Maybe I missed it, because here's my notion. I could be mistaken. Adam and Eve, Abel was killed. There's no mention of Abel ever having children. Therefore, everybody is descended from Cain.
Well, yeah,
allegedly,
or descendant of Adam and Eve.
Those who are not monsters or non-humans, but yeah, all of them should be descended from. Everybody who is a human descended from Adam should be from Cain, because there was no. All right, so there's that. What I have heard is that we had Abraham. He couldn't have a child with his wife Sarah. Abram couldn't have a child with Sarah, so she gave him her slave. And Hagar, to have a baby. And then at the end, he sent Hagar away to live out in the desert with the baby, got rid of them essentially. I've heard people who believe that child was that family was the first, the founder of Islam, but also the founder of the dark-skinned people. That's where I've heard that as well.
It's a way to be racist.
Exactly. That's kind of where I'm going. Yeah. Another one was the Canaanites. Remember, Ham saw Noah naked, so Noah cursed Ham's child, not Ham, oddly enough, but Ham's child, Canaan, to be a slave and servant to the other brothers and their children.
That's very Roman, though. You go through, but you would at least have killed Ham and then his entire family, or enslaved them.
Something like that. Yeah.
So Roman.
But so Canaan didn't do anything wrong, but all his descendants became the Canaanites, who Moses had to murder their way through to get to the Holy Land.
Interesting. Oh gosh. Yeah. It's crazy. And so, I'll encounter, I don't really do any religion on my channel or discuss that. But when somebody brings it up, I'm like, look, I took religious studies in college. I went to state on different books of the Bible. I have read the Bible. And I'm like, which version? I've been Catholic for a while before. So it's like, I've read the Nag Hammadi, the Dead Sea Scrolls. What do you want?
Yeah,
so it's like,
bring it. Yes, exactly.
I know my stuff, but it's like, I don't get into all of that. I try to just stick to the science and evidence, but it's just my experience. And, my experiences with religion and people that I've been around, that's all anecdotal, but it's interesting to see how a lot of that overlays with the use of, well, this is this thing, and it's an excuse to be racist. So it's
very
it's
true.
Like, oh my goodness, it makes me nuts.
Yeah. There's just it's amazing how easy and how often it is that these people who follow these teachings of peace and mercy and love can really noodle out the most interesting ways to be harmful and hurtful and ugly to other people. just
Well,
blows my
it's the
mind.
us and them mentality.
Yes,
They're not part of our tribe, so they're bad people. They're going to take our resources.
that's right.
Therefore, we must exterminate. And I'm like,
Exterminate.
we're on the earth together.
Right.
So
For now.
for now,
Yeah, yeah. No, against
asteroid
our will.
2020.
Yeah. Yes. Meteor 2020.
Gosh, I wonder when it's going to start raining frogs. I'm waiting for that plague.
I don't know.
I'm
Yeah,
waiting for that.
yeah, that'd be the fun one. Raining
Yeah,
frogs and
that'd
shit.
be the fun one. At least they probably take out the murder hornets.
There you go. I've heard in the thing there are people like, did you know they're having plagues? They're having plagues of locusts in Egypt. I'm like, yeah, that happens.
Yeah,
About
that
every
happens
15
all
or
the
20
time.
years.
Yeah. What can we get Flint, Michigan? I wonder, can we count that as the water turning to blood? Is it undrinkable? Because that's been going on for years. Can we count that?
Yeah, it has. It has been going
Yeah,
on for
we
years.
can we count that? Can we just I'm ready.
You
I'm
know,
ready
it's
to live
funny.
through all the plagues.
It's funny, we could not afford a half a trillion. We could not afford $500 billion that would fix up all the ills of the world and possibly even do things like cure world hunger kind of shit. We didn't have the money for that.
Yeah.
And yet now, we've got $5 trillion to somehow magically pull out of these things and just dump
bail
into the
out,
economy.
corporations and not people.
Yeah, I mean, isn't it? And of course, all those corporations. What's the deal with if you're $1 billion industry and you're making hundreds of $1 millions a month or whatever, you're making millions of dollars a month, and this thing happens and you can't go a month without paying your employees, something is wrong.
They need to stop getting avocado toast in Starbucks.
That's what they need to do. They
That's
need
what
to.
they need to do. Stop getting avocado toast in Starbucks. And in my opinion, if a company does not pay taxes, they don't deserve bailouts.
Right. Hello,
Same
church.
people.
Looking at you, church.
Did you see that they got they requested funding
Yeah.
for help, and Catholic Church got help from the government.
Can you imagine that? I mean, I did a series of video on Mother Teresa back before the turn of the year, and Mother Teresa alone brought in billions with a B for the Catholic Church. There's no way this company needs money at all, and yet we have to foot their bill.
Yeah,
Well,
they
that's
don't
just
pay taxes. I mean, if billionaires don't pay taxes, if
right.
Corporations are able to wiggle out of paying taxes, they don't get bailouts. That's my thoughts on that.
That's right. Yeah, and yet here we are. And part of the deal is they're giving that money to people. Again, didn't Harvard get some of that money? Why would Harvard even apply for that shit?
I work with an institution where 70% of the people that go there are poverty line. They cannot. It's basically what they do is you fill out your FAFSA. That's your federal student aid form. They can contribute approximately $700 a year to their education. That's considered poverty line once you figure out all your income. And so 70% of our students at that particular institution are poverty line. And so it's like you're working with this, and we could afford to send everybody to like a state institution or a school like that, or a trade school. We could beef up our education system. Heck, we have money right now. We could just have everybody stay home for a couple of months,
right?
Put a hold on their rent. Just say we're not going to charge rent or mortgage. We're going to hold on the mortgages. We're going to make certain we can funnel basic utilities. We already have a commodities program. I mean, so it's just, but we're not going to do that because we have to make everybody go and work. And it's the poor people, the minimum wage people that are going to die from this virus because they're forcing them to reopen and all this stuff. Yeah. It makes me nuts.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way that our government has handled this has been horrible. It's like at every step they've paused and they've paused and considered deeply. What could we possibly do wrong here? Oh, that's what we'll do. And then they move on to the next step. What could we possibly do wrong here? Okay, we'll do that.
It's negligence. All of it is negligence.
It is. It's funny, whenever Trump played it down and didn't listen to the warnings from the WHO and all this stuff from everybody that warned him, tried to warn it, played it down. It's a Democratic hoax. And then he comes out and cuts funding to the WHO, the people who actually did try to warn us.
Yeah.
And he cuts funding, blaming them because they, according to him, didn't warn us in time. What the hell?
He even turned down the tests that they were going to give him for free.
Absolutely.
So
it's almost as if it almost sounds as if he's a foreign agent trying to kill Americans. Odd, isn't it? Considering that he was put into office with the help of a foreign government and then suppressed the legal battle that would have proved that. Because, if you're innocent, you don't fight legal battles.
No.
And here he is murdering Americans.
Yeah. It's crazy. So
I went there.
I've tried to not get too terribly political on my channel and stuff, but when you have somebody blatantly pushing pseudoscience, I don't care who you are, whether you're a politician, if you're religious, if you're any of these things, and you're saying something that is blatantly not true and misrepresenting science, I'm going to call you out on that. Right. I don't care who you are. If you're my mom and you went on, and my mom knows not to do that because she knows I'm deadly serious, and she'd be like, "Oh yeah, this is like it's so." I don't care who you are. I will call you out on your garbage and hold you accountable.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And for somebody in a position such as his to be so, but that's his whole deal. I don't know. I normally try not to go too much into politics. I try to keep it to religion. I've got a video out there called "Where Should Trump Be?" Trump should be in prison. So if somebody wants to know my opinion, they can go watch it. I'll try to hold it down.
I really wish he would have taken his own advice with like the disinfectant and let us see how it went.
Me too.
I got to a point, I'm like, if you trust our great leader that you should inject Clorox bleach into your veins, who am I to stop you at this point?
Right. I want to see who's going to help him shove that UV light bulb up his ass. I want to see that. There's a pay-per-view for that. I'm just saying.
Well, also, if you didn't know, perineum sunning was a thing a few months ago that I talked about on my channel.
Hey, don't knock it till you've tried it. That's all I'm saying.
People get third-degree sunburns on their butthole because they wanted to tan their butthole. Well, guess what? You start shoving UV lights up there. What do you think that's going to do to your intestines?
Yeah. Hey, can you see those people suntanning their perineum with their MAGA hat on? I mean,
just shove that UV light right up there. Tanning bed, my organs.
There you go.
That's what you're doing.
Yeah, I know. Wait a second. Isn't UV light responsible for things like cancer and?
Yes, it's a carcinogen.
But you know what? I tell you what, it all balances out if you drink the proper amount of bleach, or do you inject it? I don't remember. Did he say? Do you inject the bleach? Disinfectant. It's a disinfectant. Yes.
And then even in his follow-up, he said, you can put disinfectant on your hands and that kills him. Like, you don't put bleach on your hands, Donnie. You don't do that. Now, hand sanitizer, that is a type of disinfectant. Yes. But the disinfectant everybody thinks you're talking about is Lysol and bleach, which you're supposed to not put on your skin. Yeah. Even then, he couldn't even get it right. I'm like,
they have little warning signs on there for this, say, do not consume. This is not to be ingested. I know they use too big of words for the Trumpers, but there's a reason why that's there.
Goodness. It's just, he needs Mr. Yuck on everything. You remember those stickers from Poison Control? You get Mr. Yuck.
Wow, Mr. Yuck.
Mr. Yuck. He's like, ugh. And it's the green face. It was like a smiley face, but he was like sad and sticking his tongue out like, this is gross.
Yeah. He could just get a hat, put that on his hat.
Yeah, he's Mr. Yuck. Do not intake Donald Trump in any capacity.
I tell you, that man is just, and I talked to his, and I have to say, every now and then I see something on there and he gets vilified for something he doesn't do, or he will say something and people will blow it out of proportion. That does happen. There is some on the left. It does, because we see him as a villain on one side, so we draw his twirly mustache any chance we get. Right, but when you set aside that the opposing side view and just objectively look at the nonsense that comes out of this man's mouth sometimes, I mean, I don't understand. I have friends I respect who I don't get why they follow this person. Why? I mean, even just a few examples of the babbling that he has done, that does on occasion. You cannot find an example of Obama doing anything like that.
No, he doesn't even form coherent sentences a
Yeah,
lot of the time. And
he
you're
doesn't.
wondering, what?
Yep, you're right.
Oh,
Trump just, I
God.
mean, it's just ramble half a sentence, ramble half a sentence. Well, you know, snorting Ritalin will do that to you. I'm just, I don't know. Not that I know anything about snorting Ritalin, but
Oh,
I
my
don't.
goodness. I
Yeah.
don't know. I,
We'll leave the speculation to side. But yeah. So there's bad things. You know what? We have gone past the hour quite a bit.
oh,
I want to
okay.
thank you for joining me for Sci-Fi Sunday. I
This is
appreciate it.
fun.
Yeah.
We bird walked a bit, but it's okay. It was a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's supposed to be fun. I try to avoid the politics to keep it fun. But as long as we're having fun talking about the politics, I don't care.
You know,
Yeah.
why
So,
not? It's if we can't laugh at the stuff every once in a while, we'll just sit here and cry all day.
yes. Yes. That's true. And who are we to go without a jackboot on our throat and complain about it?
Right?
I mean, anyway, thank you very much for joining me for Sci-Fi Saturday. Thank you to the people in the chat. Sunday, Sci-Fi Sunday.
Sci-Fi Sunday.
I know.
It's a one-off.
Yeah, I don't normally stream on the Sunday because it's the Lord's Day.
Yes.
But
It's a day of rest.
It's a day of rest. So I'm going to get on my rest, and you have a wonderful day. Thank you again for joining me.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you to everybody in the chat. You guys are awesome. Y'all have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe. Happy Mother's Day for all those mothers out there. Okay? Take care.